Yo, what's up, Facebook? Welcome to My Life Monday with Mike, your mentor. Almost forgot what day it is. Yeah, it's been a good day, long day, working hard here. Kids are back in school, so that means getting into the routine. My goal is to get up by 6:30 every day and start my day off right with some devotions and get the kids to school and hit the gym and then start grinding on the work. Um, oh man, what's up with that? So, My Life Monday. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Appreciate you checking out this page. This page is in totality an effort to help men, one, understand the higher calling that they have on their lives as husbands, fathers, friends, leaders in their community, because I think a lot of that's been lost because the stuff that I get into throughout the week, more so with the teachings, especially on Friday, when we talk about manhood and what that means and what that looks like, it's stuff that's not taught in school. And if you're like me and you physically don't have a dad there when you're growing up, or even if you do have a dad and maybe he's physically there, but he's not mentally or emotionally there, you're left to figure out what manhood means and what it looks like on your own. And in that pursuit of trying to discover that, you can cause a lot of damage to yourself and a lot of damage to other people, unfortunately, because as a society, we've gotten away from that and away from teaching those principles to our kids. And this isn't something that occurred overnight. This is something that has happened over decades and decades, and it's just slowly worn away to where we're at a point where you could go up to five different guys on the street and ask them when they first became a man, and you would get five totally different answers. I smoked my first cigarette, I got in my first fight, I slept with my first woman, I paid my first bills, I was able to support a family. So all kinds of different answers. And I think that's indicative of just this underlying problem in culture, and that's there's no more honor left, right? There's no more honor left on the way that we treat people. There's no more honor left in the way that we conduct ourselves as men. And we see it all the time. We saw it with Jeff Epstein and all the stuff that's coming out about him being, this teenage sex slave trader and all this crazy stuff, right? And we saw it, I think it was last year, maybe it was earlier this year, but with Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement and all the stuff that's coming out because men have taken advantage and not been responsible with the things that we've been given in our lives, our families, our kids, the calling that we have as men. And so this is my part in trying to change that and to try to get this message out because these things that I've learned in my life and these seeds that I've had planted inside of me by all these different people along the way have made such a difference in my life and changed my life that I can't be quiet about it anymore, especially as I see just the craziness out in the world and the number of people, but men in particularly, that take their lives every single day because they feel lost and they're confused and they're not sure where to turn. And I know what that's like because I was in a dark spot at one time in my life, and if it wasn't for these guys coming around me and me being exposed to the information that we talk about on Fridays, I don't know if I would have come back from that place or if my life would look like it does now. So I guess that's a long version of why this page exists, but let's get to it tonight. So My Life Monday is where I just recap some of the things that have happened to me in the week that maybe have made a difference, or I think that could be beneficial to you, and just gets you or allows you to get to know me a little bit better. because I'm sure a lot of people are like, who's this dude that's talking about, manhood and what it means to be a man, and what does he know about that, and what kind of person is he? And those are all fair questions, and I'm an open book. What you see here on the Facebook Live is what you get in real life. I'm probably talking a little bit more than I do in real life because I tend to be a little bit more reserved, but this is part of my calling, and it's like game time. When the game is on, you need to step up. So first thing I want to talk to you about is, so I'm really trying to be more disciplined in reading, in what I read and what I feed myself, because that's extremely important, and I talk about that all the time. What you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're watching, how that affects your mood, how that affects your mind, how that can inhibit or encourage your growth as a man and as a person. So I just finished Maximize Manhood by Dr. Edwin Cole. A fantastic book. A lot of great pointers. Really the original architect of the manhood movement, or a manhood movement in America. And that's out of that is where the workbook that I go through on Fridays came out of. And a lot of the stuff that you see being talked about today in different places on the internet and different places in culture when it has to do with manhood came from his teachings, the foundation that he laid. So that was cool to finally get my hands on that and read that stuff. And there was something in there that really stuck out to me, and it talked about how the Israelites were going through the desert, right, the valley, the wilderness, and to go into the promised land. And there were certain things that stopped them from reaching that promised land, and he laid those things out, and those are very interesting to think about. And the one that stuck out to me was lust. And I remember a story in the Bible about the Israelites going to war with somebody, and the enemy hired a like a I guess like a person to curse them, right? Like this magician, this sorcerer, or whatever. And when he went up and cursed them and it didn't work, he needed to come up with a new plan. So his plan was, is he went back to the enemy and he told them, hey, get all of the prettiest girls that you have and line them up outside the camp. These dudes will become distracted by all that, and then we'll be able to easily defeat them. And so they went and did that, and it caused the Israelites a lot of problem. And I just think about my own life and how, especially when I was a teenager and even into my early 20s, I let that do a lot of damage to me. And I think that's something that men have to wrestle with every single day on some level or not. But for whatever reason, that really made an impact on me when that was the first thing listed and pointed out. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there. So my new book to read is one. It's more business this time around, but I just started it. And the way to go, if I like having a book in my hand, but given my schedule and just how I wasn't being consistent with reading, I found it way easier to get audiobooks. And what the heck is that? And it's just made things so much more easier. I like to get to be able to listen to them at 1.5, 2 times the speed, which for some people I know that can be hard to keep up, but it makes me concentrate more, and I can listen to it while I'm working out. So just kind of space out and just get absorbed in the story. So I'm reading this book, Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand, which has been awesome, giving me a lot to think about with my own business. And one of my coaches recommended this to me, and we're starting a little book club based on it. So it's good so far. Nothing super important to share with you, but I just want to let you know where I'm at in terms of reading books and accountability. So the next thing that I want to share with you, or the final thing before we get out of here tonight. So if you do or you don't know, I started this marketing company probably just about a year ago is when it was kind of birthed. And then I had to get it up to speed and to get going. So we're doing good. Celebrated a 1 year anniversary. Got a handful of clients. Thanks, Clay. And part of this is learning, and part of life, right? Is if you don't know how to do something, or you're trying to figure something else out, and you want to cut corners or compress time, is to find somebody who's already done it. So I'm a big believer in coaching. So one of the coaches that I have, shout out to Rob Sakel, high performance coach, is he turned me on to some things and thinking about my business and getting super detailed and granular about what I want it to look like, who I want to work with, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And then that led me on a journey to find this other thing, which is like this exercise that asks you these very deep questions, and that's kind of what I need, because that's how my mind works. That's how I think. Like I can get to that point, but if somebody can ask me those questions, I could just get to it a lot quicker. So I want to share some of these things with you, because I think it's important, not just from a business standpoint, but from a personal standpoint. And you need to. This would be a good exercise for you to go through personally, as you decide where your life is right now, and where you want it to be. So let me see here. So the exercise is that you're supposed to come up with 5 values for your business, or in this case, your life, and to share those, and then attach a quote to each one of those. So I'll share mine with you, and share the quote with you here. Alright, so the first one is that I chose is chop wood and carry water, right? And that's just a reminder that you got to do the work. You got to do the fundamentals, every single day. There's often, it's not going to be some huge move, some huge deal that you make that really changes things long term. It's going to be those little things that you constantly focus on, and you build up that discipline that's going to carry you over the long term. So my quote for that is, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals, by Jim Rohn. Alright, so now I got the second one, is have a winner's mentality. And that's just a reminder to me of, we have a choice, right? We have a choice in life, the way that we're going to approach things, the way that we're going to deal with situations, the way that we're going to deal when things don't go right, or the way that we want them to do. And I love this quote because, it's a distinction between, it's a slight distinction, but it's actually, well, it's slight by words, but it's actually a huge distinction between having a winner's mentality and a loser's mentality. So I don't know who this is by, couldn't find it, but it says, winners say it may be difficult, but it is possible. Losers say it may be possible, but it is difficult. And just that mindset, right, that perspective that winners take when they approach things, and how different that is. It's powerful. So 3 more for you guys here. Third one is trust the process. All my Quest brothers will know what that's about. Shout out to Quest. So this quote comes from, well, I don't even know who started it, but the guy that sticks out in my mind is a guy by the name of Nikita Koloff. If you're a huge wrestling fan, you know that name because he was one of the superstars in wrestling in the Hulk Hogan era, and he's got a very fascinating story. And he actually stepped away from wrestling when he was on the verge of signing a contract for millions and millions of dollars. because he got saved, and he felt called by God to do something else with his life, and now he leads various men's ministries and workshops and outings all around the country, and I've gotten to know him pretty good over the last couple of years. And you know, the very first this quest, right, this retreat that I went on, that was a big thing that they said. It was just trust the process, right? They didn't give you a lot of information, and for a lot of people that can be scary, not knowing what lies ahead. But there's a process to everything, and that is trust the process. And your job is to trust the process, just like there's a process in life, and you've got to trust it. All right, so the next one is see differently. And this is a reminder to me to have a different perspective on things. Things aren't always as they seem. I guess a good example that comes to mind is whenever, I shouldn't say whenever, but this specific example, somebody came to me and they said they got into a conversation with someone, and this person was, you know what? I'm not going to tell that story. This is a better story to get this point across. So there was a guy who drove a cab, and he was having a horrible day, and he was pissed off. And it was his last stop of the night. And so he pulls into this driveway and sits there and waits. Right after 2 minutes go by, he honks the horn. Still nothing. Waits another 2 minutes, honks the horn. Finally, he's just like, you know what? I should just get out of here. But something told him to just go up to the door and check. So he gets out, goes up to the door, knocks on the door, and hears a voice that says, "Just a minute." And it's the voice of an older lady. Finally, the lady comes to the door, opens the door, and he sees that it's this little old elderly lady, and she's dragging a duffel-sized bag behind her. And immediately his bad attitude starts to go away, and he picks up the bag, and he apologizes to the lady, and helps her into the back of the taxi. And then he asks the lady, hey, where are you going? Where am I going to take you tonight? And she says, I need you to take me over to, what was the name of that place? Doggone it all. What is the name of the place where people go when they know they don't have a long time to live? Hospice. There we go. I need you to take me to this hospice place. He's like, okay, I'll take you there. And he goes and he turns on the meter, right? And she goes, well, I want you to go through downtown. And he says to the lady, he goes, well, you know that's a longer route. It's going to cost you more money. And she goes, I don't care. She's like, I have no one left in my life. I have no family. And I'm going to this place to die. So that's the way I want to go. So he turns off the meter, and he ends up driving this lady through downtown, and not just through downtown, but all around the city. And they spend like 2 or 3 hours just talking, and him sharing his life with her sharing his life with him, until he finally drops her off at the hospice center and didn't charge her for the cab ride. So I tell you guys that kind of long story to say, right, it goes along with seeing differently, because everything's not always as we like to think it is, right? Like if someone's nasty to us, that maybe they're having a bad day, maybe something really bad just happened to them or someone in their family. So it's just a reminder to me of perspective on why it's important to be able to see differently, or to see things differently through a different set of eyes. And the quote I have for that is, see the forest through the trees. And this quote is pertaining to being able to see the big picture and not get caught up on the little details, which can be extremely important. Alright, so drum roll, the last one is earn the right to be the GOAT. And this is a reminder to me that in this case, specifically Michael Jordan, all the work that he had to put in to become the basketball player that he was, right, the greatest of all time. All the work that went into it. Yeah, he had some natural ability, but all the work behind the scenes that a lot of people never saw, the hours and hours and hours that went into him perfecting his moves and getting better at his skill set. And the quote that goes along with that is Michael Jordan's quote where he says, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." And that's just a huge reminder to me that greatness doesn't just come in a moment. It's a process. And if you want to do something great with your life, you need to embrace that process, however long it may be, and not give up and keep on going, especially if this is something that's been placed in your heart. And after enough time, when you've sharpened those skills and you've prepared yourself, you're going to get that chance. And if you've done the work, you're going to be able to make the most out of that chance and that opportunity. So those are the 5 things or the 5, I guess, core values at this point of my business. And I hope you enjoyed this exercise. If that made sense, or if what I'm talking about makes sense to you, in the comments you can just type "makes sense" or "I'm following along, I get it," and that'd be great. That way I know, kind of have a better idea of what kind of stuff you guys like to know about me, or you want me to share on these types of nights. Oh yeah, thanks Clay, appreciate it. So if you need anything, I'm here. As always, the invitation's is open. Just hit me up. Otherwise, I love you, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for Tuesday Thoughts. Have a good night.